Hello, online group. I hope you're well. Hi, Jean. Hi, Brian and Linda. We'll start in just a minute. Welcome everybody to the loving kindness class for Wednesday. My name is Alex. It's wonderful to be here with you this evening. Hello to everybody online as well. Hi, Brian and Linda and Jean and Marisa. Hello, and everyone else who might be online. If you are online, please say hello if you haven't done so already. I always like to know who's there. So this is the loving kindness class. Is there anyone here who's your first time at the Dharma Bum Temple? Awesome. How did you guys find out about us?
Long story short, my parents were married in this church in 1943, and it's always been sort of a fascination of me. And actually, I did come to a recovery Dharma thing on Sunday, and I needed to come to this, I just wasn't able to, and so it kind of feels like a bizarre full circle.
And now you're here.
And now I'm here.
That's awesome. Well, welcome. It's wonderful to have both of you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who's not necessarily your first time to the temple, but your first time to Wednesday? Awesome. Welcome. So what we talk about in this class and the meditation that we do revolves around loving kindness. Loving kindness is the first of the 4 heart practices, or the Brahma Viharas. Brahma Viharas means divine abodes. And this wonderful word, Metta, that we often use synonymously with loving kindness. I mean, loving kindness isn't necessarily a great translation because this word, comes from, 2,500 years ago. And when it gets translated into English, it can mean a lot of things. It can mean loving kindness, unconditional friendliness, goodwill. It's simply a wish to be happy. A wish for ourselves to be happy, a wish for others to be happy. And not only that we're happy, but that we do things and that other people do things that cause happiness. And we want the happiness and the causes of happiness, or to do the things that cause happiness. And so you might be asking yourself, well, what causes happiness? And what causes happiness is the motto of the Dharma Bum Temple. Think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. If you just did that, those are causes of happiness. So when the Buddha talks about loving kindness, for him and how he taught it, it just wasn't a meditation that you do. It was much more than that. It was a way to live your life. It was a way to relate to life, relate to the people that you meet in life, that you deal with on a daily basis in life, and the people you don't deal with on a daily basis in life. And it's a way to relate to them, and it's a way to live your life. And so I'd kind of like to read the sutra. A sutra is just a teaching from 2,500 years ago. These are the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is called the Kalyana Metta Sutta, or the Buddha's words on loving kindness. It's short. It says, or he says, "This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being free from all sense desires, is not born again into this world." And, again, I love this sutra and when I think about that these words came from, 2,500, actually probably 2,600 years ago, it just kind of, how we suffer hasn't changed. It's all the same. Human nature is still human nature, and really 2,500 years isn't a long time. You can't change human nature in that amount of time. And that's why these teachings are so relevant today. Because these words that I just read, every time that I read them, and when I first heard them, I was amazed. Like, oh yeah, that's still relevant. All that's still true. And, we live in a world, especially now, of incredible division, of black and white and left and right, of things that are black and white for people. Not racist black and white, but black and white for people. And if it's not one thing, it's absolutely the other. And there's no room for nuance, and there's no room for anything in the middle. And Buddhism is about being in the middle. It's literally the middle way of not suffering with, dealing with eternalism or nihilism, indulgence, or being too frugal. And this kind of way in the middle in which we try to live. Now, by not holding to fixed views like it says in the sutra. And that's kind of the problem, especially now with all this division. We're holding on to a lot of fixed views, and it's causing us a lot of suffering. And because there's so much less middle ground, the suffering becomes more apparent. Because we're all in this camp. We're in the us camp or the them camp. Right? The way that we other people has been magnified and kind of magnifies our suffering. And it's really, unfortunate and sad to see. And I've got sucked into it too. But I'm just really, really grateful for this practice, as I've said, a number of times. And, because of the way, I was on the phone with my sister last night. And, I have 3 sisters. I only really talked to one of them, the youngest one. They're all older than me, but she's like only 2 years older than me. And we didn't really grow up a lot together just because of how things worked out. But we did grow up a little bit together. And so we were talking about that when we were living with some other relative other than our parents. And we were talking about a lot of the abuse that we had suffered under these people. And it's been so long that I've never told her any of what I went through, and she never really told me of stuff that she went through. We had our lives and we did our thing, and we grew up and we had relationships and families and jobs and other types of things, and we just the wonderful thing about what COVID does and lockdown does is it gets you to think about a lot of things. I'm home by myself, and things are suddenly coming up, and one of the wonderful things about us sharing kind of what we both went through is I felt in that particular instance that I didn't feel so alone with all of that. Could you put your mask back on? Yeah, could you put your mask back on? Oh, nice. Thank you. They just make us do that. And it was wonderful to kind of connect with her in that way. And it's like, oh, you too? Yeah, me too. And it was just kind of a wonderful thing. It was a wonderful relief, for me and for her as well, because she goes, I can't believe it's been literally it's been 40 something years since all that stuff happened. So long ago, a lifetime ago, it seems like. But it's, still fresh in our minds. Okay, is there anyone here brand new to meditation? I don't think so, but if there is, then we can go over instructions. All right. So we're going to have this meditation, and I'm going to, because we have a couple of new people here, we kind of do it a little bit of a different way. So we're going to do this, we're going to do loving kindness for our benefactor. And a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love and great kindness. Someone it's really easy to have these feelings for. Like a family member, teacher, best friend, something like that. And then we're going to imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us. So we're going to switch it up just a little bit. And after that, we're going to do it for ourselves. Loving kindness for ourselves, and then we're going to do it for all beings. I just skip the part about doing it for neutral people or doing it for the enemy. I don't do that. And it's not necessarily appropriate. I'm relatively convinced of that. I mean, you can, for a lot of people can, but in general, for kind of what we're going through right now, and with COVID and all the turmoil that brings, just watching people at these city council meetings getting up there and saying just the most insane things, I thought, okay, you know what? We're just going to skip all that part. Anyway, so we could talk about more about that after the meditation. And then after the meditation, really, it's kind of a free form. Sometimes I have something to say, and sometimes I just want to hear from you. I want to hear questions. I want to hear comments on, what part of the meditation, was easy for you and not so easy. Any questions on the instructions or anything that may have come up, regarding your experience of meditation. So yes, it's going to be a fun time. I hope. Relax. The greatest quality you can bring to your spiritual practice is a sense of humor. So if you screw up, or if you think you screw up, it's okay. Just start again. It's all right. You can laugh at yourself. You can do that. Any questions before we start? Awesome, guys. Hi, Marcel. Hi, Marcy. Oh, Travis. Oh, Travis. All right, here we go. And so just allow your eyes to close, making sure you have that nice seated position that's nice and comfortable for you, nice and sustainable so you're not likely to move around too much. But if at any time during this meditation you experience discomfort, of course it's okay to move. It's okay to stretch. It's okay to refocus and get your bearings again. And when we sit, a wonderful recollection that we can do is when we sit like a Buddha. And we can even imagine ourselves as a Buddha sitting underneath our own Bodhi tree of enlightenment. For the historical Buddha, it was the Bodhi tree, but you can choose whatever tree you want. Each Buddha has their own tree, and you as a Buddha can choose your own tree. Maybe a sequoia or a redwood or a mighty oak tree or a eucalyptus or whatever tree you want. It's all up to you. Sitting as the Buddha, upright, mindful, ready for the task at hand, ready for the day's abiding. And just let these words just kind of wash over you. Don't hang on to them too much. So at first, let's just take a deep breath all the way in and all the way out. Not forcing it, letting the breath be quite easy and quite natural at first. So something that's really important, so even when we engage in this practice of loving kindness, we always want to have about 25% of our attention on the breath. It keeps us anchored to the present moment. The breath is our anchor. It's always our home. It's always that place we can come back to when things get just a little bit too hectic. We can always take a deep breath and recenter ourselves and become focused on the present moment. It's just for the next couple of moments, just rest as gently as you can in the sensations of the breath. So to begin our practice of loving kindness meditation, this Metta meditation, we're first going to call to mind our benefactor. And again, a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness. Someone we've already experienced this loving kindness from. So we already know what this experience is like in our own heart. And it could be pretty much anyone. Mother, father, brother, sister, any best friend, favorite teacher, someone on TV or that you admire. They could be living, they could be not living, doesn't matter. So picture them in your mind and feel them in your heart if you can. And the only thing that we're going to do is just radiate loving kindness to this person or these people. It could be more than one. In any way you understand that word radiate. I like to think of a beam of loving kindness going from my heart to theirs. And this could be any color. It could be warm. It could be cool. It could be vibrating, pulsing. This beam of loving kindness gently penetrates their heart. So just for the next few moments, we'll do this practice of loving kindness for our benefactor. And shifting our focus just a little now from doing this practice for a benefactor to now something a little different. We're going to imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us. We already have the experience of their loving kindness in our heart. So hopefully this will be a little bit easier. And so you can picture this benefactor. It could be the same one. It could be different. It doesn't matter. You're going to imagine them radiating loving kindness to you. The only thing that you have to do is receive. Receive all of their loving kindness, all of their well wishes, all of their wishes for you to be happy, to be free from danger, healthy. And it, sometimes helps to put your hand over your heart because you might run into a little resistance accepting all of their loving kindness. And if you do, that's okay. Can you then breathe into that resistance? Don't fight it, just let it be. Give it a chance to soften and loosen, and letting more of your benefactor's loving kindness into your heart. And it always helps to smile. Smiling is part of right effort, which is part of the Buddha's instructions or the path of enlightenment called right effort, to generate positive mind states and keep them there. So we smile and receive all of our benefactors' love and care. And we'll do this for the next few moments. And now, shifting our focus again, we can now, let's see if we can do this practice of loving kindness for ourselves. And we can either radiate loving kindness back to us. We can say phrases of loving kindness, gently repeating them to ourselves silently. Phrases like, may I be happy. May I be safe from inner and outer danger. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at peace and live at ease in this world. You can keep your hand over your heart if you want. Make sure you smile. Just call to mind your own wish to be happy. Yeah, you deserve to be happy just like everybody else. Breathing into any resistance you might feel. It's okay. No need to fight it. Happens to all of us. So we'll do this practice of loving kindness for ourselves for the next few moments. And finally, we get to explore the limitless quality of the heart. And the heart does have this limitless quality. It just needs to be developed. And so now, can we have this, or do this practice for all beings in all directions? Upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded. May all beings be at ease, as it says in the sutta. And so just go as far out as you can, pushing all beings in all directions. Happiness, the causes of happiness. So we'll do this to end our meditation. Open your eyes when you're ready. Let's take the next 2 minutes out in silence as you stretch your arms and you stretch your legs, keeping that mindfulness of loving kindness about you. And then if you have any questions, comments, we'll talk about those right afterwards. It goes for you too, online folks. Still hurts. All right. I love doing this practice, and it's always beneficial for me. It's always new and enjoyable, and I'm always glad that you're here. And one of the gifts that didn't have for a long time is like personally seeing faces, and even if they're in masks, it doesn't matter. You're here, your physical body is here, and I feel that presence. I feel that. It's a lot different than when I used to do this, from my condo, online only. So somebody wrote a question online. We'll go to read this. And the question was, can you elaborate more about the benefit of focusing on loving kindness for others and ourselves instead of neutral or the enemy? Yeah, absolutely. So traditionally, the way loving kindness practice is taught is you do it for yourself first, and then you do it for a loved one, then for a neutral person, and then for the enemy, the person furthest away from your heart, and then you do it for all beings. And then sometimes you kind of bring it back to yourself. But essentially, that's the progression. So the idea is you do it for yourself first because that's the easiest. And then you do it for the neutral person because that's almost as easy. You do it for the benefactor because that's almost as easy. Then you do it for the neutral person because it's a little unfamiliar, so you're kind of extending your heart in areas that are unfamiliar, but it's good to practice. And then do it for the enemy. And so this progression, in my view, does not work for Westerners. Because I've been doing this loving kindness practice for a long time, and it's always usually for many people hardest to do it for ourselves. It's not easy as it's hardest. So if it's so hard to do it for ourselves, we can't really start with that, because that's not how we're conditioned. We're not conditioned in this American Western culture to have loving kindness for ourselves. In the East, where in these cultures, many times, especially these Buddhist countries, they're taught respect from an early age. They're taught how to make the little hand gesture of respect, and and to bow and to put the little bowl of rice in the monk's bowl when the monk comes by, or to make the offering of some kind. Not even meditation or anything like that. The first lesson is generosity. And that's not that way here. It's not that way here. When the Dalai Lama, several years ago was hosting a whole lot of people, and somebody asked him what they do about like self-hatred, self-denigration. He didn't understand the question. He didn't understand the question because that's a foreign thing to have in his culture. The Tibetan culture is a culture of compassion for all beings, all times, and they're trained in that early. So when he heard about this self-hatred that's so prevalent in this culture, he was like taken aback. He didn't get it. I mean, they literally had to explain it to him. But that's the reality of the culture that we live in. And so this progression that we're taught doesn't work for the Western culture because that's not how we're conditioned. And so we need to find some other way to do this so that we are able to have loving kindness for ourselves, which is the most important part of the practice. Because if we can have loving kindness in our own hearts, if we have that experience in our own hearts, and this is an experiential practice, if we can have that experience of loving kindness for our hearts, that naturally just kind of flows out to everybody else. You can't stop it. So then, yes, doing it for the neutral person, the enemy, and all those things becomes a heck of a lot easier. But we're not there yet. I mean, we have hundreds of years of cultural conditioning to overcome. And so I'm always pretty adamant in the fact that if we did nothing but loving kindness for ourselves for like 10 years, that would be an incredible benefit. So, Jeff, question? Oh, I thought you were. Oh, okay. Sorry, kind of saw it on the side of my head. So yes, if you did nothing but loving kindness for yourself, that would be an incredible benefit. Or do it in this kind of way that we did it tonight. And again, I didn't make up this way, right? I was kind of looking for ways. I saw it on like Jack Kornfield's website. I said, yep, that's good. I like that. So I think I'm going to start doing it this way and see what happens. And it's got a lot of good response. I really like it. I could care less about doing it for the neutral person, especially the enemy, because my entire life I've thought nothing of the enemy. The enemy has held like a front row seat in the front of my mind for most of my life. Why give this person any more time? And I say that to you. Why give these people any more of your time? It's not needed. Fuck them. Seriously.
So wouldn't it be giving them a different kind of your time, though, if you focus on them doing loving kindness meditation?
Yeah. So another thing that's happened when we talk about the enemy and the skillful way to do this part of the practice is to do it for the minor enemy. So that is doing it for like the person that's a little annoying, right? Just to start small, right? But every time I say that and I gave that instruction, they didn't do that. They went for the mortal enemy. Because it's the juiciest thing. It's like the juiciest steak, or whatever you want to call it. It's just like the juiciest thing. It's the most attractive thing. It's the thing that we're conditioned to go after. And so it's like, no, forget it. No. We've punished ourselves so much over the years by thinking of these people, thinking of how they hurt us and how we're going to get revenge and why did they hurt us and all these different types of things and we keep on punishing ourselves with these thoughts. So no more punishment. No more punishment. That's just my view. But yes, go ahead.
I'm going through a lot of suffering right now with a potential divorce from someone who I used to very deeply love.
Mhm.
And I find it very hard to rationalize this change in their persona, that I still deeply love that person,
Mhm.
that I knew,
Mhm.
that I experienced life, that I shared life with. I don't really consider them an enemy, but I've kind of tried to do, the expression is killing them with kindness. And it's funny, I never used to buy into that because I thought, oh, what a bunch of hooey.
Yeah.
But since I've been confronted with this scenario in my day-to-day living, everyone I encounter, I try and be kind to.
Mhm.
All the time. It could be the clerk at the store, anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed, finally, now that I'm practicing that, what I get back. But how do I deal with this contentious but really not enemy? I want to give them love to have them healed, because there's also involved substance abuse. So I can't hate them. They're not really the mortal enemy. They're kind of lost.
Mhm.
And so I have compassion, I have caring, I have love,
Mhm.
but I'm so confused.
Yeah. So, I have no answers as to relationships. But, one very important thing you said was substance abuse.
Yeah.
And as someone in recovery for several years, I remember my own, and I've seen other people's, and I've seen the road. And so I'll offer this, which is just my own experience. I told you I have 3 sisters. They're all older. My oldest sister lives in Alabama. She drinks Jack and beer all day. Doesn't leave the house. Been to rehab several times. Didn't take. My nephew, her son, last time said, yeah, she's yellow. She's literally yellow from, obviously like liver disease, jaundice, that kind of thing. And one of the things that I heard from, this is actually from Brene Brown, right? Who studies this, who studies like empathy and compassion. She says, the one quality that people who have, real empathy and real compassion is boundaries. They have boundaries. And, you don't have to look at, you don't have to look at them as the enemy. You can look at them as a loved one, because they are a loved one. They're a loved one who's going through a really hard time that you need to have the boundary that you can't be with this person. It seems like. And it's so hard because you love them so much, and there's an attachment there that causes all of it, a lot of this suffering. So looking at them as the enemy, not a good idea. They're a loved one. They're a loved one who you can still love as fully as you can and still have that boundary, because you are so compassionate. And this kind of compassion is a fierce, fierce, fierce compassion. Fierce compassion has boundaries. Boundaries of, I won't let you ruin my happiness. I can't, as much as I love you. I can't let you take me down with you. And it doesn't mean that I don't love you, because I love you with all of my heart. Still. And you can love her with all of your heart still. And it's just something you have to, this is where loving kindness for yourself comes in handy.
Well, that's why I'm here.
Good, I'm glad. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you.
I hope that helps at least a
No,
little
it
bit.
does.
Boundaries are hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me years to learn boundaries, years of trauma responses and all that kind of stuff to learn boundaries. I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did. As much as it hurt, it's the most beneficial thing. One of the most beneficial things I've done. And and the great thing about that is it's literally science. It's literally data. So whether you're right-brained or left-brained, which actually isn't a thing anymore. I heard that recently. That's not a thing. There is no right brain or left brain kind of stuff. Or whatever your perspective is, maybe how your perspective is. You can still look at it. You can still kind of think of it in a different kind of way. So, yeah. Anyone else? Nope.
So during the meditation, like you just mentioned,
Yeah.
it was hardest to focus it on myself.
Uh-huh.
I'm my worst critic.
Mm-hmm.
So every day,
Join the club.
I tell people, I say, my philosophy is, I deserve what I get. And I leave it at that. And they look at me weird, because normally that's a bad connotation of that saying. And I told them, no, if good things happen to me, I deserve it, and I accept them. And if bad things happen to me, I feel like I deserve that too, and I accept that, knowing that it's not all gonna last. So, is that a form of loving kindness towards myself? The acceptance that good and bad are both gonna happen to me, but they're not permanent?
Yeah, absolutely. So with that perspective, so you have another perspective. Because you said, I hate that word deserve.
Right.
However, in the way that you used it, I'm okay with. So, a lot of times in the Tibetan Buddhism practice, they pray for suffering. They pray for, may I have enough suffering today so that I can be compassionate. And that's how they build compassion through their suffering.
I'm not praying for it.
No. And maybe like they wish for suffering, they ask for suffering. May I have enough suffering? And that's some fierce ass compassion right there. That's okay, whatever happens to me. There was one, really quick, I know we're almost out of time, but there was one monk who was imprisoned by the Chinese for 10 years. And they beat him and they tortured him. And then after 10 years, they let him go. And, they asked him, a while after that, like, how did you do it? How can you not hate them? Did you hate them? Did you hate them for all that they did to you, for all that torture they inflicted on you? And he said, well, no, but one time my compassion waned a little bit. After 10 years of torture, that's the way that they practice. I'm in incredible awe of, that they can do that. No wonder the Dalai Lama thinks that this is so foreign to him, all this kind of self-hatred and self-denigration and I'm my own worst critic kind of thing that we all pretty much do. Oh, you're welcome. Sorry. Thank you guys. It was wonderful to have you here. Let's join our palms together on our hearts, please. May the benefits of this meditation, this discussion be received by all beings. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be joyful and at ease. May all beings be happy. May all beings be loved and seen for the beautiful, radiant beings that they are, that you are. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Well,
Do you need anything picked up?
nope, we're good. Thank you so much for asking. I appreciate that. Bye, you guys. Good to see you.
This is an interesting observation.